And then you have an audience who is trying to decode this message and guess exactly what it is that they are being. This is frustrating for both sides of the spectrum. The actor, on one hand, knows that at least one person in the audience is aware of what he's trying to represent. However, the audience is frustrated because they're not sure if they even know what he's trying to represent, and they just keep guessing and guessing until someone finally guesses it right, or they just give up. Luckily, we don't have to communicate using charades in our daily lives. However, the challenge of effective communication still remains. Breakdowns in communication occur all the time. I'm sure you're aware of this. And when they happen on a business level, it can damage the image of the company. And we want to avoid that. So, one time, I went to Walmart, and I have a love-hate relationship with Walmart, like a lot of people do. My mother was able to wire me money from Georgia, from her local Walmart in Georgia, to my local Walmart here in Rexburg, and I was going to go pick it up, and I needed the money that day. Well, when I arrived, there was an employee who was from a different department working in the customer service department and insisted that the identification I had brought wasn't sufficient enough for me to get the funds my mother had sent me. I was frustrated because I knew this wasn't true. I'd used this service before, and the identification I'd used before was sufficient. So after 10 or 15 minutes of searching for a manager, I finally found one who had a moment and had the right information. My near crisis was averted, but I was frustrated and disgruntled, and that there had been a near crisis at all. This should not have occurred. Well, the University Bookstore Facebook page is approaching 8,000 likes, which is great because you can communicate deals and promotions and other store information to consumers pretty well. However, what happens when consumers are more aware of promotions and deals than employees and management? They may have experiences such as the one I had at Walmart. Well, 42% of the employees I spoke with 19 employees, 42% felt that knowing other department deals and promotions was not a primary responsibility. 7 out of 10 BYU Idaho students, and I interviewed 61 BYU Idaho students, felt that knowing all department deals and promotions was necessary for bookstore employees. And this is why. 1, they can't tell the difference between an employee who works for the art department and an employee that works for the clothing department. So 8 out of 10 students feel this way. They also, when I spoke with them, weren't aware that there were different departments in the bookstore. They thought that it was all one section and that all employees knew about all the sections. So they're not aware that they're employees that specialize in specific sections. The management has the key to this information. And what we want to do is make sure that everyone has equal access to this information so they can provide top-notch customer care and improve in-store efficiency, because employees will be able to help other departments if they have at least a foundation of knowledge about what's going on in that department. How can we do this? Well, I'm obviously not here day in and day out, so I don't know all of the challenges in communication you face, but I have brought some options to consider. Hopefully they are options that are feasible, or they help you to think of options that would be feasible or even the best solution. First one is a sign. We could have the manager of each department, or whoever has the promotional information, type it up on a little paper, which I've actually created a template for you if you wish to use it, and I've emailed it out to Ryan Butters, who can distribute it if you want it. And you just put the upcoming week's deals and promotions. You'd print it and put it up by the bulletin board, by the employee time clock. You could also disperse this information to each department. So the department manager could be responsible for getting that information and making sure they have it in their department location, or the manager who actually makes the list could be nice and make enough copies for all the other departments to pick up at the secretary's desk in the office. I think we all are aware that email is a common form of communication, and that's the advantage and disadvantage of it. So many people receive emails, it's hard to grab the attention you may need in an email. Also, there's not a very good reference point for email, because students may recall information they read in the email incorrectly, or just scan it and not read it at all. But I did speak with a lot of student employees about which methods they prefer, and I'll show you what they said at the end here. The next, I think we're all aware of, is text messaging. In order to do text messaging, we'd have to use the system TextWire that the bookstore has, I'm sure you know of, and it would cost 3 cents a text to send out, and you'd also have to designate someone to be the texter for the bookstore, which could be time consuming, but once you get it going, it could go a little faster over time. So the summary of my research is that 42% prefer texting, and 37% prefer email, and 16% prefer a daily meeting when addressing vital employee information, such as when the store will be closed on an unusual day. When addressing department promotional and deal information, they prefer, 21% prefer sign and text, 16% prefer a sign and email, and 16% prefer just email, and 16% prefer other. And what other means, when I asked them to specify, all of the people who responded said sign and then a different type of communication. So they said sign and something else. So that's an example of what the other options were that people chose. Once you try to implement a method of communication, it can feel like you're still playing charades. People don't understand what you're trying to communicate, or aren't getting the information because it's not how they receive information well. But once you do find the right method of communication, the efficiency in the store will improve, employees will be more capable to help consumers, and consumers will have a higher chance of leaving the store happier than when they came in. So let's try to put away our game of charades and bring out our game of effective communication, and call it the game where nobody feels dumb and everybody wins.